project. All the work that AJ does is often for the community, for people less fortunate, and just he is an advocate for people in general. So AJ, we look forward to hearing your story, and thanks for being here.
Sarah, I'm only here because you invited me, as I shared. For Black people during this time, the trauma is real, it's relived, and sadly, is probably not going to be the last name. But I would like to begin with just a couple resources that I think I'd like to share, which is to help continue to educate and open the eyes of our white brothers and sisters, which are Jane Elliott, the Blue and Brown Eye Experiment. I think that's super necessary. Tim Wise, he's has a ton of, he's a racial equity warrior, as I'll frame him, but he's super well known. But on YouTube, you can find a ton of his content. The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, and White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo. And just wanted to provide those resources because as a Black man, is nothing that I feel that I can say to truly communicate the hurt, the pain, despair, lived experience of our people, our elders, our ancestors. So those people are a lot more smarter than me. And then there's also authors who are white in there, and I feel that those are some of the best teachers right now that can help explain at least what racism feels like and what we can do about it. So some of my experiences of working in government is really what I'll center my conversation around. And I have the same lived experiences as others on the panel, but I want to talk about the active role that government plays in the trauma of my people. Everyone knows slavery reconstruction and, redlining, the Tuskegee experiment, and that experiment was a direct implementation of the United States Health Department to inject syphilis into African American males just to see how it works. And with that type of experiment happening historically, it concluded in the 70s, so that was only 50 years ago. Jim Crow, segregation, the war on drugs, mass incarceration, and throughout all of that, police brutality has been a constant thread that has, woven throughout those eras. And now we are at the point in the United States where in 2020, we have senators debating an anti-lynching bill. And to me, it's tough to fathom, why that bill hasn't been passed some time ago. But it shows me that even in a quote unquote post-racial society where we had a Black president, racism is still alive and well. And George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, the list goes on, are sadly victims of something that's been outside of our control, something that Black people didn't ask for. And the only way that things will improve, similar to the Civil Rights Bill, Voting Rights Act, is if white brothers and sisters are just as pissed off as Black folks are about what's going on. Because, unfortunately, you all take and feel or may feel that people are blaming you for things that you have not done. And in the spirit of accountability, I think it's important that you as white people hold other white people accountable, so then you don't have to hear those things. And especially when it comes to police brutality, as a Black man, as a taxpayer, I feel it's outright unjust that I have to pay tax dollars for excessive force claims when those dollars could be repurposed for better community good, whether it's workforce development, access to capital. But the police pension fund should be paying for their own excessive force claims. I shouldn't have to do that. So I don't have much more to add about that. I'll gladly share any of my time with other panelists, but first, if it wasn't for Sarah, to the spirit of me as a black man right now, we're just tired, man. We're worn out. It's things that as a 31-year-old male, I have two sons now, and I have to create a better place for them. And we need everybody who's just as outright mad to get involved. So Sarah, that's all I have.
Thanks, AJ. That was really powerful and super emotional. So definitely, if the people watching on, we've got 74 people on this Zoom. Looks like we've got another probably 50 to 100 on Facebook watching. So if people didn't hear that emotion in your voice, I pray they did, because that is so real. So thank you again for sharing that.
Anytime for you, sir.
And we're hopefully going to be a part of the change that we see.
Absolutely.
So the next person we're going to have speak is Malay.